The 28th of July, 1996 was not an ordinary day for the English media. Early in the morning, two fishermen cast their net into the water, and after a wait, they pulled it back, only to find that instead of a large fish, they had caught a dead man. They immediately contacted the police, marking the beginning of a very unusual investigation. The police presumed that the man's death was the result of a tragic mishap, either a boating incident or an accidental fall from a cliff. However, they still needed to ascertain the identity of the victim and learn more about what happened to him. They found no reports of a missing person, no ID, and his pockets were empty. All they found was the man's valuable Rolex watch. The autopsy report revealed various injuries on the man's head and body, which could have resulted from falling into the lake, or not. Rolex watches come with unique serial numbers that allow the date of purchase and ownership to be determined. Using this number, the police identified the deceased as Ronald Joseph Platt, whose last known address was a leased property in Chelmsford, Essex. After contacting the landlord of the residence, the police were directed to Platt's closest friend, David Davis. David displayed a rather unusual reaction to the news of Platt's passing. He showed no shock or surprise, and didn't ask any questions. He simply accepted the information in a businesslike manner. He was also overly polite and forthcoming with information, which was out of character. A few days later, the police attempted to contact David once more to obtain essential information, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Consequently, an officer decided to visit his residence in person. David lived on a street where houses were identified by names rather than numbered doors, and his house was named Little London Farmhouse. Uncertain which house belonged to David among the four on the street, the officer decided to knock on each door. Upon knocking on the first door, he was greeted by an elderly couple who informed him that the resident of Little London Farmhouse was Ronald Platt, not David Davis. Perplexed, the officer asked again, but the couple confirmed that Ronald Platt was their neighbor, not David Davis. This realization prompted the officer to suspect there was more to the story than initially assumed. The officer harbored suspicions that David was impersonating his deceased friend Platt. But why? Further investigation revealed that David had relocated to the area with his spouse and children some time ago, and he owned a boat that he frequently sailed. However, the couple who provided information to the authorities were unaware of the boat's name or make, making identification nearly impossible. Detecting discrepancies in the information gathered, the police revisited the fisherman who had discovered Platt's body. It emerged that along with Platt's body, the fishermen had also recovered an anchor, which they had intended to sell rather than handing over to the police. Luckily, the anchor remained unsold, allowing officers to seize it as crucial evidence for their investigation. Additionally, the police learned of Platt's former girlfriend Elaine Boyes, who described Platt as a charming and affectionate person. A week before the police contacted Elaine, David reached out to her and spoke as if they were old friends catching up. He even claimed that he had not been in touch with Platt, despite the police having already contacted him about Platt's body. David intentionally lied to Elaine, which scared her when the police later informed her about it. Consequently, David was arrested. David's arrest validated the authorities' assumption that he was pretending to be his deceased friend. The police seized $500,000 in cash, gold bars, paintings, and some photos. One of the photos led to the identification of David's boat, which upon investigation provided valuable forensic evidence including blood and hair belonging to Platt, as well as a receipt for an anchor. The police traced the anchor to the store where it was purchased and discovered that it was not appropriate for David's boat. It was the murder weapon. Despite the compelling evidence, David was not convicted by the police, as the case relied heavily on circumstantial evidence that could be refuted. As the police lacked substantial information about David, they reached out to Interpol, who eventually revealed that David was, in fact, Albert Johnson Walker, Canada's most sought-after fugitive who had scammed approximately $3.2 million from people. The person they had believed to be David Davis was one of Walker's victims, just like Platt. Under the guise of Platt, Walker enjoyed a luxurious lifestyle and was unwilling to abandon it, so he invited Platt on a fishing expedition and murdered him. During his trial in June 1998, Walker pleaded not guilty and used his con artist abilities to defend himself. Although the police suspected Walker of murdering Platt, they initially struggled to pinpoint the exact date of the crime, making it difficult to verify Walker's alibi or build a strong case against him. However, the situation changed when Platt's cherished Rolex watch came into the picture. According to Rolex specifications, the watch stops working approximately 38 hours after being submerged in water. Using this detail, the police determined the date of the murder from the watch's stop time, then accessed GPS data from the boat, confirming Walker's presence at the murder location on that date. Eyewitness testimony further supported their case, and as a result, the jury found Walker guilty of Ronald Platt's murder, thereby sentencing him to life in prison.